Let's pick up right where we left off. We have a chlorine molecule, Cl2. That's a nonmetal, so it's going to be covalent. Oops. Let's count up the electrons. There are 2 chlorines. Each chlorine has 7, so that's a total of 14 valence electrons. Next, we got to draw it. We have 2 Cls. Let's start by just filling in the electrons around the outside. Let's see, do I have 14? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Okay, I do have 14. Is each chlorine happy? Does each chlorine have 8 valence electrons? Looks like it. Alright, cool. So we're done. That's it. Alright, ethane, C2H6. You got to put your carbons in the middle. Oh, excuse me. First of all, this is a covalent because they are all, nonmetals. Let's count up the valence electrons. We have 2 carbons, those each have 4. We have 6 hydrogens, those each have 1, for a total of 8 plus 6 is 14 electrons. Let's put the C's in the middle. Put the H's around the C's. So, we got to have 14. How many do I have right now? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Is everybody satisfied? Yep, all the hydrogens have 1, just like they should. Each carbon has 4, just like it should. So we are finished with ethane. Hydroxide ion. Alright, I don't think we've done an ion yet, so this might be a little bit new for some of you, but fear not. We do it the same way. It's still a covalent because oxygen and hydrogen are both nonmetals. Let's count them up. We have 1 oxygen, that's 6. We have 1 hydrogen, that's 1. Now, take a look. It's an ion. Charge of -1. What does that mean? Charge of -1 means that we have gained 1 electron. Remember, when you gain electrons, you get more negative. So if we've gained an electron, we have to show that in our electron count. So we've got to add 1 more for a grand total of 8. Now we can draw a structure just like we're used to doing. We have an O and an H. Remember, you cannot add anything to that H, but you can add to the O. Let's fill it up and see where we are. How many do I have? 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, so that's good. Is the oxygen happy? Yes, it has 8. So we're good. Sulfite ion, SO2. And then it has a charge of -2. This is also going to be covalent because it has, it's just 2 nonmetals. Let's count the electrons. Sulfur has 6. Oxygen, there are 2 oxygens. Each oxygen has 6. And now, because it's an ion, I got to take a look at the charge. It's a charge of -2. So what does that mean about electrons? If your charge is -2, that means you've gained 2 electrons. So we have to add 2 to our electron count down here. So that equals 20 total. So now I'm ready to draw it. Let's put the S in the middle, put the O's on the outside. Let me go ahead and fill in my dots around the O's and see how that looks. How many do I have now? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. I need 20. I got to add some more. Well, look, the S is still kind of empty. The S has some room, so let me add 2 more here. Now how many do I have? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Okay, it's good. So I have 20. I've used them all. Take a look at each atom and make sure that it has a complete set of 8. Yep, looks good. So we're finished. Ammonium oxide, Na2O. Na2O. What kind of bond is that? It has sodium in it. Sodium is a metal, so it must be ionic.
Miss Hatch, you have a phone call on 1?
Oh, there's two sodiums. So you need to draw an arrow showing the motion of the electron. So each sodium is going to donate an electron to oxygen. So that oxygen at the end is nice and happy. It has 8 valence electrons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we have each sodium like that with 0 on the outside. And there's your final answer. Next up, NH4, ammonium. You're probably familiar with that word, ammonium, NH4. And take note of the charge. It has a charge of +1. So let's count the electrons. Nitrogen has 5. There are 4 hydrogens. Each hydrogen has 1. But we have a charge of +1. What does that mean in terms of electrons? If your charge is +1, that means that you have lost 1 electron. So we got to do -1 this time. So 5 + 4 - 1 equals 8. So let's draw this thing. We have a nitrogen and we have 4 hydrogens. So the hydrogens are just going to go on the outside like this. Alright, now let's count and see how many we have. 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, so that's how many I'm supposed to have. So I'm finished drawing things. Now what? Is everybody happy? Yeah, looks like it. The nitrogen is surrounded by 8. The hydrogens are surrounded by 2. So we're good. All right. Sulfate ion, SO4 2-. Okay. This is covalent because they're both nonmetals. Let's count the number of electrons. S has 6. We got 4 oxygens. Each oxygen has 6. And we got a charge here. A charge of 2-. What does that mean about electrons if your charge is 2- or -2? Same thing. If your charge is -2, that means that you've gained 2 electrons. You've gotten more negative. So we've got to add 2 here. So that's going to equal 32. So now we got to draw it. We have an S and then 4 oxygens, so we can go ahead and just put the oxygens on the outside like this. I'm going to fill up each oxygen with 6 electrons for now. And then we can go from there. Alright, let's count them up. How many do we have? 8, 16, 24, 32. Alright, well I got 32, so that's good. I already have all my electrons drawn. Now we got to see if everybody's happy. Each oxygen has 8, yes. Each sulfur has 8, or the one sulfur has 8. So we're good, we're finished, that's it. Calcium bromide, CaBr2. Take a look at your periodic table. Calcium is a metal. A lot of people don't think calcium is a metal because it's in your bones. Well, guess what? Your body is full of metals. What about iron? Iron's in your blood. You got plenty of metals inside your body. Calcium is a metal, so it is ionic. Okay, so we got to draw a calcium. Calcium is in group 2, which means it has 2 valence electrons. We have 2 bromines. Each bromine has 7 valence electrons. So I draw 7 dots on the outside. Calcium is going to donate 1 electron to each bromine, so that each bromine can have 8. So now this guy has 8. This guy has 8. And calcium has 0. Okay? Methane, CH4. That is going to be covalent. Carbon and hydrogen are both nonmetals. Let's count the electrons. Carbon has 4. There are 4 hydrogens. Each hydrogen has 1. So a grand total of 8 electrons. Next, we draw the structure. Carbon's in the middle, surrounded by 4 hydrogens. 1, 2, 3, 4. We never add anything to hydrogen. How many do we have right now? 2, 4, 6, 8. How many are we supposed to have? 8. Okay, so we're good. Is everybody happy? Each hydrogen is. The carbon has 8, so that's good. Alright, so we're finished. sulfur dioxide, SO2. What kind of bond is this? Sulfur is a nonmetal, oxygen is a nonmetal, so it's going to be covalent. Next, we need to count the number of electrons. Sulfur has 6. There are 2 oxygens. Each oxygen has 6, for a grand total of 18 electrons. So, now we draw a structure. We can put one S with 2 O's on the outside, because it's SO2. Now, let's add some dots. Just fill up the oxygens and then go from there. Alright, how many have I used so far? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. Okay, so I can use 2 more. I'll put them on the sulfur because I can't put them anywhere else at this point. So now I have 18, right? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. Is everybody happy? The oxygen's good. The other oxygen's good. Sulfur, sulfur's only got 6. Sulfur only has 6 electrons. It wants 8. I really want to put 2 more down here, but I can't because I've already used 18. You can't just pull electrons out of thin air. You got to use the ones that you have. So what are you going to do? Well, if sulfur needs 2 more, how about you just borrow it from a friend? Sulfur can just borrow some from oxygen. You can take some from this oxygen, you can put them right here. I'm going to erase where they came from. So now oxygen still has 8, but it's sharing 2 with sulfur. So now sulfur also has 8. And the other oxygen is still good. So we're finished. That's the final answer. Alright, I hope that this was helpful.